Anthony, I'm very excited today because we're going to investigate how to help those men and women on the front lines. What do you think of that?
I'll tell you, there's a solution that I am really excited about that I saw a couple of years ago, and I'm excited to talk about, my friend.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Lives. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality. Hey everybody, welcome to No Vacancy Live. So excited to have each and every one of you here today. That's the incredible Anthony Melchiori. I'm the mediocre Glenn Hausman. So great to see you, Anthony. How you doing, brother?
I am doing amazing, my friend. How are you today?
Yeah, you know what? I got to tell you, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling refreshed. It's good to see that we're getting into the holiday season now, and there's lots to be thankful for, both for what's going on in our lives and helping other folks out there. Right?
I'm thankful for my friend Glenn Hausman. What's your middle name, Glenn? Tell everybody your middle name, Glenn.
My middle name is, this is very exciting, Andrew. Oh my God.
So I am very thankful for Glenn Andrew Hausman.
Yes, thank you very much. Sadly, my initials are GA, so that's not very exciting over there. Well, I'm super thankful for you, and I'm super thankful to everyone out there. But you know what else, Anthony? I'm also super thankful for all those men and women in the hotels, the ones that have been helping us each and every year, the ones that make sure I come back to a clean, comfortable room or take care of all my needs on the property, right?
Absolutely. Listen, you know that's my heartbeat.
Yeah, it sure is. And that's why we're going to talk about something really exciting today. And we have got with ourselves Robert Petteruti, the co-founder of eTip, and Jakub Petri, Senior Director, Global Visa Direct Development. Gentlemen, it's so great to see you today. How are you?
Great. Thank you for having us. Thanks for having us. How can I possibly compete with that introduction and that video that was sprung on us?
Listen, it's better just to go in a completely different direction and actually be entertaining and make sense than whatever shenanigans we're up to over here.
I'm all for shenanigans. So
well, if you're helping the hotel industry, then we're best friends, and so I'm fascinated to hear about what you're about to tell our audience.
Yeah, so Robert Petteruti here is the co-founder of eTip, and that's a really cool service to help tip those people we were just discussing via electronic methods, just in case you don't have that cash, really helping to boost the ability to do that. And of course, we've got Jakub Petri here, Senior Director, Global Visa Direct Development, because they've got an exciting new partnership. Before we get into it, Jakub, pretty cool that you guys are going to be partnering with them on such a worthwhile initiatives. And I know it plays more into what you're trying to do globally.
Absolutely. We are super excited about this partnership and be able to help the guests, the hospitality clients, as well as the employees to receive their tips digitally and remove the friction.
Yeah, excellent. Let me get the first question to you. What drove you to go ahead and co-found this company? What was the idea? Where is that? Go.
All right. Yeah, absolutely. So something that forms the backbone of what we're trying to do here in the mission we're trying to pursue here at eTip is really our sub-slogan that goes very much beyond the words. And that's that eTip exists to better empower hospitality managers to better attract, retain, and motivate staff members. And so obviously it's a fancy sub-slogan that we kind of plaster everywhere, but it really means something. What we've coined internally is a concept called the cash crisis. And that's kind of the steady disappearance of cash transactions like tips in the last, I think, according to Cornell Hospitality, in the last 10 years by like 72%. It's been a crazy downward trend that has negatively affected two key types of people. If you really think about, like Anthony, you said, basically the people who work behind the scenes in the hospitality industry, the millions of service workers, housekeeping, a variety of different segments that have seen a loss in their discretionary income. And then also managers continually struggle to retain and attract these staff from going across the street and making a couple dollars more, right? Competing with other types of businesses. So I think what we're trying to do here at eTip is empower the individual financially, but then also deliver a business ROI for managers that want to take on our solution to better attract and retain their staff.
And there's nothing worse than when I'm walking through a hotel and people are tapping their pocket, go, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have any cash," and they walk away. That literally has happened it was okay with my kids not carrying cash, who are now in the 18 and 20-year-olds. They don't carry cash. People my age aren't carrying cash. And as an Italian from Brooklyn, that is against the law. Right? But sometimes I even catch myself where I'm in a room and I want to tip a housekeeper. And I'm like, oh my God, I left my cash in my car, or I actually don't have cash on me. So it's happened to me. And then I have to go downstairs, and then I have to go back upstairs, and I have to tip. And sometimes the front desk doesn't have cash. So the worst thing for me to see in a hotel is for an employee that did great service and gets a compliment and is excited. The guest is excited to tip the person, but says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have any cash." The guest feels terrible. Right. The employee feels terrible. And now, like you said, that number of over 70% of people really not having cash available doesn't surprise me. So this is not a solution that is, it's a nice to have. This is a must-have solution, period, end of story.
Right. I totally, I mean, the concept of stiffing, right, is that old school term that, as an Italian from Rhode Island, right, it also resonates with me. I think that that one transaction or that loss of transaction of being able to pay someone a digital gratuity, that loss of transaction of being able to pay someone a cash tip instead of having kind of a digital option has a long-term negative impact on, obviously, the employee's morale, their sense of belonging at the property, hotels' ability over time to basically maintain competitive wages, right?
I'll give you an example. I'll give you a perfect example. I was in a hotel that I used to manage, and I was talking to the bellman. I said, "Hey, man, how you doing?" And we hug, and we catch up. And then I said, "What's the matter? You look a little down." And this is a true story. This happened probably a year and a half ago. And he said, what I just said. If one more person taps their pocket and says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have any cash," right, I'm gonna scream. And he said that his revenue, his personal revenue, is down 40%.
Wow.
And he's been a bellman at that hotel for probably over 25 years. So he knows his revenue every year. 40% down because people just pat their pocket and go.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. So, Jakub, it's got me thinking this is obviously an issue across multiple sectors out there. So what drove you to really put a focus on this business right now?
So thank you for the question. Visa has a long dedicated history of assigning resources and focus on the hospitality industry, including hotels, casinos, entertainment venues, etc. So we work with travel industry as well, food service, quick service restaurants, beauty salons, etc. This allows us to hear feedback from the industry, right? What are they looking for? What is the challenge, right? How to address this challenge. And then we go out and we look for partners, right? And we find who is the best partner or partners to address this challenge, right? And so we've done it with transit. We've done it with different use cases. Think about when was the last time you paid cash for parking, right? At park meter. Right, it used to be constantly quarters, right?
Right. Now I used to keep a roll in my car just in case.
Exactly. Now you can take your credit card, pay with the credit card, done. You can actually do it with the digital wallet as well. Same thing for digital tipping, right? We want to make this digital, frictionless, and so we have partners in the industry, and we partner on creating the most innovative solution. We started working on it 3 years ago,
right?
And I think we are at a very good point right now where we see the growth, we see adoption, and we are finally hearing good things from the hospitality industry about the digital tipping.
It's interesting in our industry, hospitality industry, we put a lot of technology out. Sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not, and a lot of times it's cumbersome for the guest. This is a technology the guest wants, and it prevents them from being embarrassed. And a lot of guests don't even know they want it. They don't even realize it. So it's really refreshing to see a technology that actually not only supports the team member, supports the guest, and supports the operator, but it's kind of where the world is going. So very rarely in my career, and it spans over 30 years, that I've actually seen a perfect technology to fix a perfect problem.
Yeah.
If I could
Robert?
add, I mean, I do think that's one of the reasons why this relationship with Visa works so well. I think beyond, the technical capabilities that Visa brings to the table, and the fact that eTip is able to facilitate and deliver on these digital experiences for staff members, the philosophy of like something that emphasizes the importance of bringing a seamless solution to guests I think is oftentimes the determining factor between a technology that stays in the hospitality industry, that is very fickle, oftentimes very capricious, and then other technologies that kind of people get sick of, and they maybe are used for a few months before people kind of scrap them.
Like when they used to have keyboards in the room and you could go online on your TV.
I love my keyboard in
Express. You know what's interesting? When I saw you guys at, which show did we see you guys at?
In Orlando last June.
Yes.
So I was walking out of High Tech, and I may have been with Glenn. I don't remember. I was walking out, and I saw this young lady. So you can back. Company. I saw this young lady that I'm working with actually now. She has 50 hotels that she runs with the other executives in the company. And she said, I said to her, "What technology did you find that you think that you have to implement?" And she looked at me and she was kind of like, "Oh, wow. Oh, there's one. eTip. It was amazing. I've got to talk to them. I've got to find them, and I've got to really understand it because I need that in my company." Right, Glenn? Were you standing there, right?
Not only was I standing there, but she also added that she was confident that it would better engage the employees, get them more interested in really maximizing their ability to perfect their jobs, and was an easy way to pay them more without the hospitality organization having to be concerned with their bottom line as well. So it was a real win-win-win for everybody, the housekeeping team, the hospitality management company, and the guests.
And what was amazing to me with all this technology that's out there, PMS, POS, all the stuff that's at this show, they were like, this solution solves one of our biggest issues. And I literally was like, I was blown away that she was at everything in that show. That's the one that she was like, I need to know this company.
Yeah, for sure. Now, I want to get into how you guys' relationships work and stuff like that, but that's a little back behind the scenes. Let's continue with the front of house kind of stuff, right? How does it work? If I'm a guest, how am I able to make sure that I'm showing the love through e-tipping?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think so. Harkening back to what Anthony said about the simplicity of the solution, whenever I talk to a new prospect and whenever our team supports customers, we really reiterate a really simple three-word description of what it means to use the eTip solution, and that's point, tap, and tip. So 4 words, I guess. So essentially, all that's necessary is that the guest navigates and basically encounters a piece of white labeled content, if it's a physical implementation in the hotel, or even a digital experience, like receives a text message upon checkout or check-in, or at a variety of certain touch points during their stays, or even receives an email for that matter. They click on a web-based link. They pay with a custom payment method. Of course, that's basically the tip acceptance part. And then they finish the transaction in seconds. I think so it's very much a point, tap, tip. We always pride ourselves on making sure that the process clocks in at less than 10, 15 seconds, and making sure that it empowers the guests to show their appreciation with obviously the financial contribution, as well as a rating and review if they want to. But then, thanks to Visa, and Jacob, you can describe a little bit more, the tip gets routed to the appropriate staff member or via the group of staff members instantly, thanks to basically an instant push to their bank accounts. So
right,
that's and all that analytics as well. I think we call these micro insights that we collect during the whole process gets surfaced to a manager to inform them on staff performance and the engagement with guests. It also gives them the ability to commend staff on jobs well done, or even investigate any issues that arise before it amounts to something like a bad review, which is obviously kryptonite for a hotel, right? You really want to avoid that and preempt any of this bad reaction among guests. So very simple process that really emphasizes the seamlessness of the.
And you just said the most important word is simplicity, right? The 3 words: point, tap, and tip. Correct?
Point, tap, tip.
Point, tap, tip. I love that because
it'd be great on a t-shirt too.
You book a reservation online in I think 7 seconds, right? You make a decision to book in 7 seconds. You make a decision to tip literally at the end as you're leaving, within a second. And if that solution isn't point, tap, tip, you've lost that opportunity to help an employee. So the simplicity is really what works.
Jakub, I want to hear how all of this works now, but I do think it's interesting that this is really a solution about removing friction, and that's kind of what everything is all about when it comes to technology and guest-facing technology in particular. The whole notion of making it easier for them to do the right thing. Now, the guests are tipping and doing the right thing. Jakub, take us through the journey of now how all of this works with the technology behind it and what your active role is every single day with these folks.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm working with digital tipping enablers, and as I mentioned, we partner with eTip, and so they have a frictionless user experience, right? Where when you scan that code or you tap NFC chip or whatever, however you decide to tip electronically, what happens after that is our technology, our global network comes in, and we process those tips in almost real time, right? To make sure that the tip is accepted and paid. And then we have also the Visa Direct technology to make sure that we can send that tip to the employee's bank account in real time as well, right? And then you have this
real time. That's a huge difference, particularly for people that are looking to get these tips. Anthony, I feel like you got to make an observation there, the way you're nodding.
Well, I mean, did my nodding get in the way of you speaking? No, when I heard that, when I was talking to them at the booth, I remember them saying that. And listen, they all want the cash in their bank account, quickly. There's a lot of people in the hospitality industry that this isn't their first job. Their job is to go to school, their job's in theater, or their job, and this is, in a lot of instances, they're living off of this job and they're living off the tips. So them getting the tips immediately is the difference between them going out to dinner or having a drink or paying their rent or not paying their rent that week if they have to wait a week or two for their tips. So it's critical. And one of the things that I'm on a complete tear on right now is getting more people involved in our industry to show how wonderful our industry, to show all the wonderful things about our industry. So if we can get people in our industry that are making money, feeling good about the industry, it helps us keep them in the industry.
Absolutely. Yep. I think that there's some statistic that I've read. I forgot the source, but there is some stat that basically says that the average service worker that works behind the scenes and makes this discretionary income, which is very often tips, is unable to pull out. I think it's the source $400 of a cash cushion at any point. Right. I think it just goes to show you that people operate and they live not paycheck to paycheck anymore. The waiting a week or bi-weekly for their money to hit their bank accounts is now insufficient. They need it's nice to have that discretionary income in real time to be able to financially unconstrain themselves over time.
Right. Yeah.
Well, in the industry, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I agree. Listen, we are still competing with cash here, right? If I hand somebody $20, that $20 is immediately available, right? Now they have to carry this $20, et cetera, et cetera. So maybe
such a burden.
but it's available immediately.
Right. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So, when we were building this solution, we wanted to think about how can we replicate that instant feeling of gratification, right? By getting something immediately, getting the cash immediately, and replacing it and making it better in a digital space. And so that's why I think this real-time movement of funds is very, very important and a great differentiator.
Right.
And it really builds bridges between everyone. It really does, because it's fast, it's easy, it's almost fun. It's like, oh wow, that was good. And then you go on and you feel, because again, no one is motivated by tips. No one's motivated by promotion. People are motivated because they're passionate about what they do. So the more passionate people love what they do, the bigger the tips that they get. There are people that will smile and do what they need to do to get that tip. But typically, we're talking about the most passionate people in the world are hospitality people that really deserve that extra thank you. And unfortunately, in our business, the hospitality industry has been trained that people do work on tips. So maybe the salaries aren't as great as they are in other industries. So it is a critical juncture in technology meeting hospitality. This is the year that you're really seeing, the last couple of years and going forward, that this is really this isn't going to ever change. This is the way it's going to be. You can talk about other technologies in our space that may come and go. This technology, once it's cemented, it's not going anywhere.
And I can definitely attest to that from actual customer in-sample data. What we've seen whenever a customer, like a individual hotel location, deploys eTip for their team members, every single month they actually experience an increase in adoption, which is, I think, evidence that guests get more used to it, especially their return guests or guests with longer lengths of stays, as well as the team members, I think, slowly inculcate the solution and incorporate it into their daily routines. So I think that's a really nice thing to see as a technology company kind of deploying the solution across the industry, to see that month over month kind of an increase in engagement and usage.
Also, another nice thing to see is your use of the word inculcate. Very impressive.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No,
usually I'm the one who does that.
We keep Glenn with the big words. Glenn's the big word guy.
Right.
But let me ask you a question. I'm in the room, and I've been there for a week. Okay. And I had 3 housekeepers. Explain me how it works.
That's a great question. So I think when it comes to making sure the tip is routed to the right housekeeper, that's really where a lot of the technical capabilities of the eTip solution kind of come into play. Mm-hmm. So there are a variety of different ways to deal with this. And like I always tell prospects, we really surface this optionality for customers to deploy the solution to do custom tip splitting. One of the most common ways is an individual solution in which individual housekeeper has their own accounts, basically, that we activate them on. They whenever they service the room, like clean it at any point during that week, the QR code or NFC tag or text message that the guest receives maps directly to their virtual wallets that we maintain on their behalf. But we have other really a little bit more fancy ways to allocate the tips and route them to the right staff members, such as in a pooled solution, right? We can by default split tips evenly among members of the pool, or with a shift schedule and a list of hours worked, maybe a breakdown of the floors worked by staff members. We could then allocate the tips in a lot more nuanced breakdowns to make sure that the staff members who work X number of hours get proportionately the right amount of tips.
Kind of like how in Las Vegas, if you're a dealer, they kind of share all the tips, because the person who's working at 9 p.m. Saturday has an advantage over somebody who's working at 6 a.m. on Wednesday morning.
Exactly. Right. As you can imagine, like the same thing with check-ins and check-outs, right, for front desk. I mean, there are kind of surges of activity where maybe the middle of the day people encounter a lull.
Now, every general manager after I say this, every general manager, everybody who's ever worked in a hotel that understands the relationship between tipping and housekeeping is going to laugh at this. If I had $1 for every time I had to have a meeting that with the engineering and the housekeeping department, that the engineer did not steal your tip, okay? Or the other housekeeper did not take your tip. I can tell you that is probably my top 5 most meetings of employees I've ever had in my life. 100%.
I had no idea. Yeah,
there's not a housekeeper alive today that hasn't seen it, hasn't complained about it, or hasn't heard about it in their hotel, period. Wow. Yeah, and everybody in the industry is laughing right now because they're like, yep. And guess what? It's never the maintenance guy. It's just the housekeeper took the tip, and it was the young lady who cleaned the room yesterday. Okay. Then there was somebody else that cleaned it, and she got the tip. And then the other person's upset. It's like, well, I cleaned the room too. So very rarely is it ever somebody took the tip that didn't belong to the tip. But this solves that problem. You didn't even know that problem existed, did you?
No, I didn't. I'm learning here every single day. That's why I love doing No Vacancy Live with you, Anthony. Robert, I don't mean to bring up dirty words here, but taxes, how are those handled to make sure that everyone's taken care of?
I rather use big, complicated vocabulary words than taxes. No, taxes, they're a necessary evil, right? I mean, there are things that tips are taxable income. And a lot of our big brands and even individual franchisees that we work with obviously want to make sure that they are in full tax compliance. I think speaking about it generally, the way we handle it is by surfacing all of the real-time analytics and the tip amounts via our dashboard to be able to have accounting and finance and HR personnel at these portfolios or individual hotel locations export the necessary data to be able to add those amounts to employees' W-2s, so they could basically maintain tax reporting compliance. I think that's also one of the reasons, one of the other kind of background levels of importance of things being in real time, right? Not just the actual tip transactions themselves, but actually having the analytics available to the necessary stakeholders immediately for compliance and other security reasons, by the way. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, excellent. Anthony, got anything else? Jacob, go for it, man.
Yeah, if I can add something to the taxes,
please.
People are focused on the taxes, right? Oh, it's a necessary evil, et cetera, et cetera. But think about those stats. Every time we talk to a valet parking personnel, bellman, housekeeping person, they tell us one thing. Their average tip through the digital mean, right, through eTip, for example, is always twice as high as the cash tip. Because if you have $10 or $20 in your wallet, that's it. That's your limit. If you pay with the credit card, right, or your digital wallet, there is no limit, right? It's really, you can really put the amount using eTip's user interface. You can put the exact amount that you want to tip. And I think so that's the number one benefit. Number two benefit, in my opinion, is, when you apply for credit cards, apply for auto loans, etc., you don't have tips in your overall income.
Right.
Interesting. Now, all that is going to be disclosable. You can show, I received that amount of tips, and this is my monthly average. Right. You will get a better credit card. You will get a better auto loan terms. Who knows? Maybe even better. Lending lending products.
Yeah, you know what? You made a really good point. I had an incident about a month ago. I walked out of the hotel, beautiful hotel, and I had a $100 bill and I had a $5 bill in my pocket. I was hoping I had a 20 because I wanted to tip the valet a 20 because he kept my car in the front. And I wasn't going to give him 100 because he didn't do that great of a job. But I felt the $5 tip wasn't appropriate to him keeping my car in the front of the hotel. I wanted to give him a 20. So if I had that option that he could say, hey, here's my QR code, boom, the guy got a $20 tip. So he got a $5 tip off of me, and he probably said the Hotel Impossible guy's cheap.
I hear, and I want to send out a personal thanks to the front desk staff of the Broadmoor who helped make change for me, I think 4 different times over the 5 days that I was there to make sure I was taking care of people.
Give them change as a tip?
No, not nickels, dimes, and quarters. I mean, getting 5s and 10s.
If you did,
I was tipping them in the for the amount that when they opened in 1918 was appropriate. That's how.
No, it's uncomfortable to hand somebody a bill that you're tipping and say, "Can you break the change?" I felt more uncomfortable asking for that than I did giving the $5 bill. But so this solves a lot of real. I didn't even realize I had this many issues with tipping. It really solves a lot of problems.
Yeah. And some like you mentioned, doing a change. We hear some resorts putting ATMs in their locations to address the issue of guests not having cash. Right. I mean, how? That doesn't make sense. It's just crazy. Makes no sense to put an ATM just because guests don't have cash with them. Right.
Right. Hey, that gets me thinking. Now you guys could say your environmentally friendly solution too, because you're removing ATMs and gas to bring them back and forth and all the cash and all that.
Absolutely. It's a win-win on every level. I agree.
And technology in our industry gets a lot of GMs, a lot of people on top business nervous. They just get nervous because we've had a lot of bad technology, and a lot of us aren't tech people. Mm-hmm. And I happen to be a little bit more than most, but it's really scary for people to implement this technology for all the reasons we're talking about.
Remember in-room fax machines? Anyone?
And, no, I remember the keyboards, but not that one.
Venetian Palazzo had them for many, many, many years. And when they opened with them, it was, let me tell you, it was innovation. It was really amazing because everyone was doing that then. This is really before the internet was the internet, right? In the late 1990s. So it was really cool, but like all technologies, they changed.
You know what he's saying to himself? He's going, "What's a fax machine?"
Yeah, just a fax, man. Jacob, any final thoughts? Maybe a little bit more about why you're looking forward to collaborating with eTip on this.
Yeah. So first of all, listen, if you choose your partner, you choose first of all people, right? And it's very clear that eTip has the right people with the right focus. If the next thing is for me is do they have the right technology? Right. And eTip has the right technology, frictionless user experience, best in class payment processing on the back, dashboards for managers to review everything. So technology is great, fantastic as well. And then the final thing for me is strategy. Where do they see it? Where do they see it 2, 3, 4 years from now? Right. Right. It's great to have a success now, but how do you're going to grow it? And I think eTip on all 3 levels is absolutely great, and I'm looking forward to grow the partnership.
Excellent, Robert. Now that he showed you some love, you got to give it back, don't you?
I mean, he has a fat commission for all of those compliments. So he has a giant eTip that I have to give him after this. His QR code can be displayed in a couple of minutes.
Yes.
No, I everything Jacob said. I mean, the same thing applies from us to Visa. I think what I said before about business philosophies, it's one thing to kind of discuss the importance and the agreed upon importance of the rise of e-wallets, the ubiquity of digital payments, the fact that everything needs to be digital and streamlined for the guests that oftentimes don't have the attention spans to spend a lot of time utilizing and trying to navigate new technology solutions that are oftentimes very complex and about to be scrapped, like Anthony said. So I think with Visa, obviously, what we've identified and what we've been able to what we're very grateful to have as a partner that is really aligned with our incentives here. I think Jacob probably agrees with me when I say tipping is a huge step in the way of financial wellness, for discretionary tipped employees in the service industry, not just hotels, but all the other sectors that make up the service industry, with U.S. hospitality being a big but not the only sector, right? Restaurants, other types of food and beverage businesses, entertainment businesses, cruise lines, parking, valet.
Every time, right? I was going to say every time I park my car in the city.
Exactly. So the way I think I'm really excited for how this partnership with Visa will evolve to encapsulate all of the different financial wellness use cases, because tipping is an amazing start, and perfecting this flow is a wonderful first product, but it's definitely not. It's just the beginning. It is the way we see it here at eTip, which harkens back to what Jacob said about our envisioning for what eTip will be in a couple of years' time. So I'm very excited, and of course, working with Jacob is sometimes, mostly great.
I take it.
You have all the factors to be successful. You have a great name for the company. You have great technology, and you have a great partner. You have great ease of use. You have an industry that needs the product. So it's just built for success. So congratulations.
Oh my gosh, thank you. It takes a village, really. I mean, everything's a work in progress, and we very much care about leading with results, leading with numbers and ROIs, right? And not just leaning on the just the surface level allure of the solution, right? And making sure that we deliver the ROIs and the benefits that we purport to deliver. And that's so far what we're doing really well, and we're going to continue to do so.
Excellent. So how can we learn more? How can we find all about eTip?
Feel free to go on the eTip website, and there's a little button here, a button that allows you to plan I think it's like a 15-30 minute quick chat with me or a member of my team. Again, if you're sick of hearing from
hey,
me,
if tip him, he'll go away. Just make sure you use eTip.
Exactly.
What happens if I am sick of your voice? What do I do?
Oh, then you just can't use eTip. I'm sorry.
You just call me then.
You can call Jacob and yeah, we have to figure something out. No, we can plan a meeting with someone else on my team. I'll begrudgingly kind of give them the opportunity to talk. But yeah, no, in all seriousness, we are onboarding and activating a variety of different businesses in the service industry for a variety of different use cases, not just the ones we spoke about today.
Yep.
Working with brands far and wide. So I would love to talk to anyone who wants to learn more.
Excellent. You can learn more at www.etip.io. Feel like throwing out an email address?
Sure. It is robert@etip.io.
Excellent. And Jacob, what about you? You got anything that you want to share here at the end?
Yeah, absolutely. I just, over the years, we developed best practices for digital tipping, right? And I just want to make sure that when a hospitality brand or restaurant brand thinks about digital tipping, that they reach out and we can help them about best practices, what to look for. Look for choice, right? When you accept the tip, make sure there is different ability to process the tip, right? Google Pay, Apple Pay, right? All those wallets, all those availability to process the purchase transaction. Choice on the calculation of the tips, right? We talked about pulling tips, sharing tips. Make sure that you align yourself with a enabler that has all this technology available. Finally, on the disbursement to the employee, right? When you send that tip to the employee, make sure there is choices there too. Make sure the employee can choose from a menu of different payout method. And finally, on the reporting side, make sure you align yourself with a partner that has ability to provide results in a meaningful way, right? So when the manager looks at best performing employees, the ones that got the 5 stars, great comments, that they can see it, analyze it, and use it in their performance reviews, etc.
Anthony, you're muted.
Reporting is really important to, especially people in my industry, general managers. I love reports, and I don't use reports to overanalyze, but really, like you said, how do I incentivize people? How do I know who's really doing what they need to be doing for the guests, and how do we celebrate them? So that's really important.
Beautiful. And I'd say I really love how this is removing friction from that entire process. Remove friction from the guest to make it easier for a housekeeper, for them to tip housekeepers. Remove that friction to make it easier for housekeepers to get paid. Removing that friction to give the owners better control over how people are feeling when they're working at that hotel. Gentlemen, it is so nice to have seen you today. Thanks so much for sharing all this great information. We really appreciate it.
Thanks
Thank you.
a lot, guys.
Thanks, guys. It was an absolute honor.
So, Anthony, I bet you wish when you were a general manager in the trenches every day, you had this tool at your disposal, right?
I wish I had a QR code that I could put on the screen that you can tip me for doing such a great job today.
That's all right. You could go to just go to patreon.com. I'm sure we have something up there where you could donate us. But if you can't do that, one thing you can do is, of course, you can subscribe to our podcast. Doesn't cost anything. Listen to us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, SoundCloud, wherever you get your shows. Well, by golly gosh darn it, we are there too. He's at Anthony Hotels. I'm at Traveling Glenn. Anything else? I love that smile.
Good, my friend. It was great. Someone just wrote something to make me laugh.
Yes, and now I appreciate while you're chuckling, and I agree. All right, everybody, remember, you've got one life, so blaze on, and
be kind to yourself.
Yeah, you'll be bringing new meaning to that after what we just saw. See ya. Robert.